Good morning. Welcome to Tip Off in the dark room that has become my office, as it's still dark out and my light bulbs are out. And I've been too lazy to fix them. Hope everyone's good. Uh, Podcast with Craig Ackerman, part one is up from yesterday. Part two goes today. Part two is really fun. We keep saying goodbye and just keep talking for 30 minutes. Um, we like the 40-minute mark. I start saying goodbye, and we got 20 more minutes left. So we get into old Rockets Jazz history and Karolinko's flop, and it's fun, really fun. So I hope you'll check it out. We're home tonight against Oklahoma City. That should be fun. Hope you come out. Home court advantage is what is separating the Jazz from everybody else right now. So make sure you come out and support. Friday, Denver, who played terribly last night. I watched them for a little while against Dallas, and they looked awful. By the way, for Zari, which is a local bike company, I actually bought my bike there without any spiff or anything of that nature, but I have their shirt on today, reminding me that you can advertise on these podcasts. We haven't really got that rolling yet. Chris Barney at the station is. I owe some phone calls. Some of it's on me. Um, you can also send your T-shirts in. You never know. I might wear it. I have some great T-shirts that I can't wear on this podcast because people get offended. My favorite one is the one that Scott Gerard picked up for me in New Orleans. Feel free to ask him about it. It has to do with the FEMA evacuation policy, left over from Katrina. It's pretty funny. Uh, I got a bunch of different things. We'll talk about Tyrone's dance that he has to start tonight. This is going to be just nuts. But I have a bunch of things on fan behavior, which I'm in the midst of. I mean, I'm not sitting on some podium lecturing down. There's bunch of things taking place I thought were really interesting. Uh, the Warriors last night had a ceremony for Chris Mullin, and evidently I was texting back and forth with Alan Horton, who's the radio voice of the Timberwolves, were there, said it was amazing. And then in the middle of the ceremony, the Warriors owner, who's a brand new owner, who's hired Mark Jackson, trying to redo the franchise and putting on this event, gets up there, and the crowd just starts booing him relentlessly, and then starts chanting, "We want Monte." Now, first of all, they're better without Monte, which I've proven, I think, quite well. You won't see it because Steph's not playing, and they're tanking. And our draft pick is going to be hard to come by. But is there just no concept of time and place anymore? Like, I'm trying to figure out. I'm very kind of put off by this. I think it's really inappropriate in the middle of Chris Mullin's ceremony for the fans to be selfish enough to take the moment away from Mullin to themselves at the owner. Okay, that's my general take on the moment. I think it's really inappropriate. Um, and is there just absolutely no time and place, general customary behavior standards? Are fans feeling so put off that they never have any access to the upper sketch of America, i.e., the ownership, that the minute they get the chance, that's what they do? Couldn't have they just done a "We want Monte" chant at some other point? I'm very. I studied crowd behavior and I studied collectiveness of behavior, which is the same thing, in college. So I've always been kind of um, intrigued by this. But this one's interesting to me because so the people went to that game. They didn't go to that game to see the Warriors versus Minnesota. The Warriors weren't playing well at the time. That didn't help them. And so they went to go to this ceremony, but then a percentage of them, and then again it gets into this great conversation. Like, was it 10% that just started this chant, or who was it? Um, I'm very. I don't want to bury too much time on it, but I'm just very intrigued by crowd behavior, collective behavior. Now, it could have been right. 15% starts the "We Want Money" chant. I mean, very much the way our kind of disastrous amateur hour with Jimmer happened this year. I think it was a small percentage started booing Jimmer when he got the ball, and I think it altered the way the evening felt for the rest of what took place. And that's different because I think that one, there were a bunch of people that came to the game just to see Jimmer that had absolutely nothing to do with um, seeing the Jazz or any interest in the NBA. They just wanted to see Jimmer, and you got exactly that in your behavior, and it made for a very strange atmosphere. This is very different. This is people who came for the ceremony, then turned the ceremony into their own personal moment to stand on stage to be able to take the moment away. I mean, there probably are some parallels into this to the whole idea of Occupy Wall Street and just this feeling, I think, of a large part of our populace that the world is being run without their involvement and without their connection to it and without their control. And so anytime you can stand up and make a statement, you do. All right, so that's my first crowd/fan behavior comment. My second is that anytime any move happens in the NBA, we want our team to do something about it. And it can be like anything. The Sacramento Kings, who suck, release a player. If they were any good, they would use him. They suck. J.J. Hickson's not a particularly good player. Cleveland, who sucks, traded him. He gets released. He's okay. We have a lot of bigs. And immediately, all over my Twitter account, not all over, 3 or 4 people, should we get J.J. Hickson? Why don't we get J.J. Hickson? Like, is there ever going to be a move where somebody doesn't? We should do it. The other one I thought was funny the other day, and this one's not crazy, but it just still just stuns me a little bit. So Portland's a disaster, and they fire Nate McMillan, and immediately my Twitter handle starts up into, should we fire Ty and get Nate? And Nate's a better coach. Okay, who has a better record? And who has a better team? Right? I mean, I actually think Nate's a fabulous coach. I think he's one of the best in the game. And I think he probably might be a better coach than Ty because he's got 7 years experience or 8 years experience on Ty as a head coach. But whose team has a better record? In the 1 year you have to evaluate Tyrone Corbin, last year does not count, whose team has a better record? And whose team has more talent? And yet still you want to replace it. So at some point, all of us Twitter know-it-alls, I'm included, have got to shut up. We're above 500 on a team that was picked by NBA.com and ESPN to be last in the West, and frankly, I didn't think they were crazy when they did it. You know, we all want these different minute things and this and that, and this is, we've talked about this from day one. This is a unique basketball club that I have maybe never seen before. The closest I've seen might be Denver this year, where 1 through 13, the roster has almost no discrepancy. I mean, seriously, Jamal Tinsley, Devin Harris, Earl Watson. We all would divide the minutes differently. Derek Favors might be our best big. I think he probably is. And we've got Al Jefferson and Paul Millsap. If nothing else, they're all the same. And then you got a 19-year-old Cantor who, for all this, we're not play kids. Cantor's just getting minutes right now. Ty is continually putting him out there. Does Ty maybe deserve some credit? The fact that we have the fewest 40-minute performances and are the second fewest on games missed? Yes. Does Ty deserve some credit that with 13 guys that can all play equally, we've had one blow-up from one old veteran whose game is slipping behind him and he got moody about it? I mean, there used to be a rule in this league that you never put a veteran on your roster who wasn't going to play because they'll destroy your locker room. We got like 5 of them if we're not careful. So maybe there's some point there where we just need to give Ty some credit, and the coaching staff. And I mean, I'm so stunned that we're sitting here on March 20th, above 500 with a huge game tonight. The minute dance starts tonight, and it's insane. And I don't have an answer on it. And I think really on this lesson before we all, I know it's so fun, it's so boring to just sit back and say, okay, this is difficult, not complain about it. But I don't know the answer to it. I mean, I wrote this whole thing yesterday about how incredibly different we are when Derek Favors plays 25 minutes, which is half the game. That's why I chose 25 minutes. People are like, why'd you choose? Because it's 1 minute more than half, by the way. That's my point. Um, and so, I mean, you read those numbers, it's undeniable that Favors has got to play 25 minutes a night. Okay, good luck. How you going to do it? Because really, playing 25 means playing 30. So, what are you going to do? 30 for him? You've only got 96 big man minutes. So he gets 30. Millsap playing pretty damn well. He's getting 30. Okay, Canner's not playing. Now you're pissed. Canner probably should play. So this is not easy. Um, I've said this throughout. And Ron Boone and I are going back and forth debating this all the time. Like I just think we should be making more defensive substitutions. I think we get interested when even with Jamal Tinsley, who's playing really well, running the offense well. I'm not sure he's as good defensively, and at least statistically, we're better defensively when Earl's on the floor, and Earl's minutes are going to diminish now. I don't know the answer on that. I don't know the answer of how you're dividing 48 minutes between 3 point guards and keeping guys happy and not having major locker room issues. We could have 5 wings here pretty soon. Our easy answer, oh, you just bench. You know, I agree that I probably would have done that with some guys. But it's really just not that easy. I probably would have just sent someone or would send someone off to the end of the bench and just not have him be part of the rotation at this point in regards to the wings because of the way some of the guys are playing. But there's real ramifications for doing that. So this dance starts. Everyone's going to be upset by the end of the night. We might actually do something like lose to Oklahoma City because everybody else has all year, and then everybody will be upset. I think you got to understand the difficulty of the dance that's taking place. Interesting last night, few things before we wrap up today. If you didn't read the favors thing, go check it out. We are Locked On Jazz slash Locked On Jazz, or we are Utah Jazz slash Locked On Jazz. Dallas hammers Denver last night. Denver's not quite healthy, but they're getting awfully close for them to not be playing better than they are. They add JaVale McGee, who I talk about in the podcast with Ackerman. Washington's been worse defensively with him on the floor every single last 3 years. He's a team killer so far. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. The other one is what's going on with Dallas, trying to figure out who they are. I keep holding to this kind of silly notion that Dallas might be able to still put it back together, and then every time I bring this up, as I do on the podcast with Craig, everyone says to me, "You're nuts." And I was searching it last night, trying to figure out when Dirk plays more than 30, what happens to them, and there's nothing there. I mean, since February, when Dirk's played more than 30, when he actually got healthy, Dirk's been pretty good. He's averaging, when he plays over 30 minutes since February 1st, he's averaging 26 points a game, shooting 48%, nailing 48% of his threes, and 85% from the free throw line. He's pretty close to back, and about 7-8 rebounds. And they're 10-9 in that stretch. So last night he had 33 and 11, and they won. But I think that might be more of a statement of where Denver is than anything else. Chicago's performance in Orlando last night is pretty stunning. Orlando scored 59 points. And I think a lot of us expected Orlando to get behind that trauma and then get rolling. So anyway, there is those are kind of the big one tonight. Phoenix starts a road trip with their 4-game win streak in Miami. Playoff wise, got to keep an eye on that. The Jazz have got to steal a game or two here tonight. Would be one of them to see what to be able to keep rolling. Just frankly, don't lose at home the rest of the way. They're fine, but that's not going to be easy. Let's keep an eye on Phoenix the rest of the month. By the way, they go to Miami, to Orlando, to Indiana, then to Cleveland, then home for one and back out to LA. We are both about to embark upon a brutal stretch. Simultaneously, Houston has about a 7-game homestand, but they're going to do it without Kyle Lowry. So the playoff race gets very, very interesting right about now. Houston's homestand is, I think, 6 out of 7 of their road games in Dallas, which might as well be a home game. All right, that wraps up tip-off today. Hope you're good. Curious if you, well, maybe Bags or Scotty or someone will discuss the crowd stuff at today. Because I thought that was, I don't know, I thought that was kind of interesting stuff. Did I have anything else? Oh, a tip-off question came in about Kendall Marshall. Very, very, very good passer. Elite-level passer, the point guard North Carolina. Very unathletic. High concern level of whether he's athletic enough to play point guard at the NBA level. See ya.